Hello everybody and welcome yet to another video. This time I'm doing something a bit different from the last videos. I'm gonna do another tier list, but this time it's gonna be the tier list of the characters ranked by strength and overall gameplay from Unknown Battle Simulator. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so to start off this tier list, we're gonna go to the bottom, where there are found the worst characters in the entire game. So in the tier E section, so we have under Old Ink Sands, Horror Sands, and Epic Sands. Okay, generally, these three rely too much on their projectiles to deal actual good damage, and mostly Epic Sands and Horror, because Ink can deal good damage up close, but his hitboxes are very small and it's almost impossible to land them. And besides that, all King Sun's projectiles aren't even good, they're very dodgeable and punishable. The only good move that I consider he has is the shield, that lets him move around with iframes. But that's it. For the rest, he's the worst character in the game easily. And now, we got Horror Sans. Now Horror Sans is very punishable when using any melee move, with the only exception of his third one. But for the rest, he also relies too much on the ranged moves, just like Epic Sans. Even though he deals more damage than Epic up close, his ranged moves are very good too. But anyways, now on the upper part. So on the upper part we got Sans Older. This guy is mostly here because of his absurd amount of stamina that he had earlier. He's not even in the game still, but he was. But anyways, the classic Sans, older classic Sans generally wasn't very good at the moment. He was very lame and almost all of his moves were easily dodgeable. Except for a few, but they didn't even deal as much damage. But now let's continue. We got Dust Sans, the only character that is not found on the old section. Even though in there, he has an exact copy. But anyways, Dust Sans in that section is easily the worst character of them all, because he mostly relies on his knife and moonspin to deal good damage, and their hitboxes aren't even that good, and the other moves are just impossible to land on the opponent, giving him an even bigger disadvantage, counting his low speed. And now we got Wizard. Okay, Wizard is actually a special case. Wizard is fully ranged. Like he has no melee moves at all. It's all ranged. And the reason it's here is because their two principal projectiles are very slow to land and relies a bit too much on the thunder to start a few combo. And I don't even think that can combo, but it may be possible. The only good move is the electric tank. Even though the damage is good, it's just impossible to play around as Wizard around the enemy, and counting the short range that it has too, besides having the heal. But anyways, now Last Breath Sans is an interesting case. He has always been considered one of the worst characters easily in the entire game, by a lot of people. Even though he was very used, his overall moveset was very bad. All of the moves were candidate to be the worst moves of the entire system. He had bad mobility, the stamina carries a bit by stamina, and the only move that I consider he had well is on the phase 2, the block, but that's it. Even though his phase 3 makes it up. He's a mix of Duster Sans and Old Gaster in his third phase, but he still falls kinda behind compared to all the others. Now, we get Genosans. Now, Genosans is kind of a bit carried by his spawn speed, even though it can still be easily dodged, because the rest of his moves are harder to dodge than all the others, but they're so slow they can still be dodged very quickly. It's like very easy still. And his second phase isn't even that good too. He barely changes a few things, and I consider It's even a worse phase than the first one. Now let's continue. The D tier characters are up next. In here, these characters are still bad, but have a few good things for the meta that few other characters don't have. Let's start with the underpart, Papyrus and Dustrous Sans. Okay, first of all, let's go with Papyrus. Papyrus is a ranged character that relies a bit on spamming his moves to deal good damage, because he barely has any close moves. Not on his first phase, but rather on the second one. And if it wasn't for his second phase, he would easily be an E tier for me, and possibly one of the worst characters in the game, if not the worst. But now, in his second phase, he just upgrades himself on new moves, but that's pretty much it. And you gain more speed and more health. He has nothing else. But he can still be a very threatening enemy if you know how to play him well. Which now is the same case with Dustrous Sans. Now, Dustrous Sans originally would be in C tier if it wasn't for his second phase, which is just as lame as Last Breath Sans' third phase, for example. But now, his first phase actually has good movement, good cooldowns despite his low speed, but he can also punish very hardly enemies despite having no combos. Even though some of his moves normally won't land because they are easy to dodge, Dustrous has good damage and consistency around the opponent. You can play rushing with him or defending yourself, but he has plenty of options to get away from any trouble. But now, for his second phase, he just becomes a spam machine. A few moves that I can only consider good are his first, his fifth move, and his sixth move. But rather than that, he becomes very bad. His cooldowns increase, all of his movement gets lost. He only has a teleport of 3 cooldown, but that doesn't make up for the movement that the first phase has. So yeah. Oh, and also, every move can be easily dodgeable, and you can receive a little bit of damage and just win by it. So like, Dustrous Sans phase 2 lags a bit on the attacks to deal damage. Now on the upper part, we have Hardmode Sans, Old Gaster, and Error Sans. In my opinion, Old Gaster here is the worst D+ character, and let me tell you why. This Old Gaster basically relies on running around and spamming the caster blasters in order to win. That's pretty much everything he has. Even though he's very durable, having 400 HP and he's also fast. And his cooldowns are very good. But besides that, he has got nothing else. And now, Hardmode Sans. Hardmode Sans is here because he has been nerfed briefly right when the new decks came to this game. And so, let's to his moves damage overall, he's up here, but let me tell you, it's not worth playing Hardmode Sans if he's not buffed. And then finally, the best tier character over here, Error Sans. Error Sans is a bit like Gaster, spamming blasters and run away, but he has got plenty of more options to deal damage to the opponents. One is very punishable, but the rest, 2 of them are very punishable, or 3, but the rest of them, well, they can't be punished. He even has an own teleport to escape from any attack that could potentially harm. Now, getting the bad characters out of the way, we have the mid-tier characters, C tier. These characters are not good, but aren't also bad. They are just in the middle. In the underpart, we have got now 4 characters, which these are Berserker, Allkiller, Glitch Tailgaster, and Knight. Glitch Tailgaster, the new and the old version that I forgot to add here, since they are basically the same with a move change. Okay, so basically, now we have Berserker. Berserker is a very good character up close, but when it comes to runners, he just falls behind because he has got no range at all besides the good damage that it did. Even though the boss got also removed, it kind of makes him very weak. but still, he's a good character, but just hard to use now. Okay, now we got it's part 9. Knight is easy. Knight is what I consider, in my opinion, the strongest character of the Battle Simulator character selection. Knight has got good damage per second. A slash that can multi-hit and deal 10 damage each hit, which is insane. And it's the only character that has got any actual blows, starting with the slash 2. You can also poison the enemy for a lot. Miracle lacks a bit the same problem as Berserker, a bit of lack of range as well as his projectile being very slow, but besides that, it's a very versatile character to use, but can die very easy when pushed. Then we have another case, all the killer suns. I tried all killer suns myself, and honestly, he's not good, but not bad, because he's not good mostly because his moves, his hitbox, is very lame. And I've already seen that a lot. I think like, what? But yeah, his hitboxes are also very lame. Hitboxes are very bad and hard to hit. But besides that, he's not bad because he cannot be punished with any move. Literally. He's very fast. He's one of the fastest characters and none of the moves actually stun him, so it's a bit hard to get around him unless you have a good character. And now Gifted Gaster. Gifted Gaster is lower than all killer suns, but he actually has some defense options, besides having worse mobility. But he can deal plenty of damage. Both versions can deal a lot of damage since they have the same moves, but he can get stunned by every single move, which is not good for him, or almost every move. But the issue with Glisted Gaster is that you gotta know when to use each move to not get punished by your opponent, because if they have a character with plenty of punish potential, then you might as well just die from that. But now we got the C plus section, the upper part. Sans Ult, the second version of Sans, Nightmare Sans, and Changes Sans. Nightmare Sans was originally in the D tier, but since my last matchup, I decided to put him in the C plus. His regen has become a bit decent, not really bad, but he can die pretty quickly from characters that deal a lot of multi-hits, or a lot of good DPS overall. And now, he has no mobility options despite being able to blind enemies, and his tentacles deal a lot of damage. The issue is that his blasters are not very good. But not only that, Nightmare Sans is probably one of the slowest characters in the game, and yet he can regen from any hit, so it makes up for it. Now, Sudden Changes Sans. Sudden Changes Sans is a ranged character, meaning that he has no close range moves. He's only a ranged character, just like Nightmare Sans and Sans Ult. Curious, right? Well, yeah, this character, well, he's not very fast, but has got some mobility options to help him get out of situations, and he's hardly punishable. He can heal, he has got good defense, he has good offense, but when it comes to combos, he has got none at all. And when he uses his bullet hell, or up far, they can dodge it very quickly, and up close, you can instantly be punished from it. So it's kind of the issue here. Not to mention that he can reload with every shot, with every move. And what does that mean? That means more debounce to not be able to use any move. And then Sans Ult, possibly the best of this category. Okay, so Sans Ult was a character that relied on ranged options, but he has got good telekinesis options too, such as telekinesis 4, telekinesis 2, that combo stands, and so. and he's the only one that has got a true combo out of all of these C plus characters. In fact, he's the only one who has got even combos because Sun Changes and the Nightmare Hands don't have any too. But yeah, that's it. Now that we have the decent and bad characters covered, let's go with the actually good characters. Now we have the B tier, which are characters better than the mid tier, but not better than the actually good characters. They're just in the middle of them. So as for the other part, we have Dream Suns and Christmas Suns. Now, I'll go with Dream Suns first. Dream Suns generally, I consider is a character that requires skill and name to play well. Not only that, you need to know when to use a move at certain situations, despite he has got no good mobility, and constantly relies on his star stuff to be able to defend himself with a shield. So yeah, and not only that, one of his moves should not even be used in combat, because it takes too long to shoot and it's very easy to dodge despite having ice breaks. But yeah, most probably you should only use it to defend yourself, nothing more. Not to mention, he only has one true combo and it's not even as strong as a simple arrow attack that he has. But now, let's go with Christmas Suns. Christmas Suns is probably one of the best zoners in the game. He can put you in a lot of traps, and yet he's the slowest character in the game besides being very tanky. But no, the thing is, this character generally still lacks the speed even though he has a good mobility. He has good offense and defense all alone. But yeah, he can also deal good damage. He can either rush or try to defend himself. One of the both. Now let's continue. In the upper part, Insanity Sans, Reaper Sans, Red, Killer Sans, and Gaster. Okay, I begin with Gaster. Gaster has changed a bit from the old one. His second blaster move has changed. Even though he became slower, he can now take very well health and stamina because of his pillars too. The pillar 4, however, carries him a bit when it comes to damage, but it's still a good option to defend yourself. And the blasters take a lot of stamina from any other opponents, which is useful against characters such as Story Shift Chara. But now, Killer Sans. Killer Sans, ever since his release, has been a top tier character guaranteed. But now with all of the extreme nerfs that he has received, I consider that he has stayed in this place. Even though he got a bit buffed, he has went from a top 1 or top 2 character to directly a B tier, which kind of saddens me honestly. But anyways, it is what it is. Killer has good offense options, and he's known for being able to rush down enemies at any moment. And that's basically his memo. But when it comes to defense, it's not very good. He has to be the one to put pressure, and if you're the one being put pressure at, then you cannot do anything about it. You cannot do much. Anyways, let's proceed with Red. Red is yet another zoner, but this one has actually stronger moves and not a better mobility, but I dare to say that she might be even better than Christmas Suns, because she deals a lot of damage and has a melee move to defend herself, and can also trap the opponent. Even though some can escape it, others cannot, and just have to survive the entire Guardian spam and everything that Red will throw at the opponent. Okay, now Reaper Sans. Reaper Sans is actually good, even though he has to rely on his melee moves because his range moves actually suck. He has got a very speedy and iframe tool, perfect to run up to runners and get them. Even though he can lifesteal, his damage is also pretty consistent. But when opponents get so far away from him and he doesn't have the iframe ability, then he can pretty much do nothing until the ability comes back. But now, finally we have Insanity Sans. Insanity Sans is a pretty strong opponent, be able to toy around everybody and having a great damage per second and compared to all of the other characters. Now he doesn't have any good mobility tools, so he normally has to rely on his offense and defense all alone. In fact, he has a true combo, just two combos, and with the counter, you can destroy the absolute living hell out of your opponent. If you land it up close, you will trap the opponent with some bones, and then you will be able to use anything you want at them. A blaster, bones 3, and punch them consecutively, and take a lot of health, which is very useful. Even though some characters counter him very badly, such as Killer Sans for example. Now we got the really good characters, the A tier. In this tier we have most of the characters, we have 11. Now, for the under part, we have Storage of Chara, Undertale Chara, Listed Frisk, Sans, Paris 404 Sans, and Christmas Chara. Now, let's go. Let's go with Listed Frisk first. Listed Frisk first is not top tier because of his first phase. If not for that, he was a top tier. The first phase basically has a pretty bad mobility, the different defense options. Even so, one of his moves is very bad. One of his moves is very lame and can be punished too. Just like with his face too, doesn't change. But now, the biggest issue is Listed Frisk can be punished for almost everything. And you gotta play like a god if you don't want to be punished, that is. But now, when it comes to his second phase, he has the same durability as Gaster and becomes an absolute menace, dealing 2 combos of possibly 80 damage worth 100 or around. And his mobility becomes a bit better, being a faster character and having a dash to rush the opponent unnoticed. Now we have Christmas Chara. Christmas Chara is a very lethal opponent. A single Ice Slash and then Ice Bomb and you get 3 damage. Now, their mobility is very good. Their mobility is decent, but it's not very bad either. Even though they have one of the worst moves in the entire history, which is the Snowball, that will leave you very stunned for some time, and then and all of that only to knock back the opponent a bit and just deal 2 damage. It's that easy to punish, trust me. And people normally use it just to throw around. But anyway. And now we have Undertale Chara. Okay, so this Chara has to be one of the most original and unique characters to the entire game. Having a way different playstyle from others and needing a bit of excess of skill to play it well. Out of all the people, I've only seen 2 people that are able to use them very well. With this being Julio, the possible top 1 of my country, and the mystery man himself, a top player, but of the entire game. But now, this Chara has some good combos. The only thing is that they lack the range. Even though they can lifesteal, they kind of lack the range and mobility to be able to catch opponents off guard. But now, let's go with Storage Chara. Storage Chara, I would say it would be a top tier if it wasn't because of the nerfs they received. Okay, so basically, Storage Chara has become a pretty weak character, a bit weaker ever since the nerfs, with the knights not being able to kill, having to rely on the melee ability or the blasters to kill their opponents. Even though they're still quite a threatening character, having to pay constant attention to the guided knights and everything that starship characters appear, even though you need an actual good character to deal with them pretty well. But now let's continue. Sans. Sans, despite his stamina usage being very low, he has his speed. He has to be one of the worst characters when it comes to mobility too, such as Christmas Sans. Even though he's a bit better. But no, Sans offense. Sans is normally a ranged character, having offense options but barely any defense options. In this case, at least, he has a telekinesis that, that can combo to anything. You can use it to do a bone stone, gas the blasters 4 or 3, or basically anything. And all of that as true combo. Though its cooldown is a bit long. But Sans originally doesn't have bad cooldowns at all. The only problem is the stamina usage of it. Because if you run low, then you won't be able to use it, and you will most likely die. Now, Virus for handling Sans. This character looks mostly on rushing the opponent rather than defense, even though he can also defend himself with the Virus going. This character can free himself from most combos and has one of the best durabilities in the entire game, if not the best. But now, my issue is this character's mobility is still pretty lame despite having relative warping, but it lasts 60 seconds. So you better use it wisely. But yeah, his damage is pretty good also, being able to destroy freeze with only his blasters and a virus blade. But that's pretty much it. He can also heal from any hit, which makes him an even more versatile character. And now his best option by far is God Ray. With God Ray, you can combo it with virus beams, and with blasters or virus beams. Even though that's his own combo. That's a bit of the issue. But now let's go to the upper part. Okay, here we have Ink Sans new version, Jebel, Cross Event new version, Old Frisk, and Alpis Mia. Oh yeah, by the way, Old Cross Event would go in D tier, in my opinion. Okay, so Frisk Old. I only put this character in A because in their last phase, the damage that you can take from them is absurd. Like really absurd. 99 damage from a single real knife hit. But then again, they lack some mobility and then they lack also some range, just like Berserker. So they are kind of falling behind against the top tiers. Now, let's go with Jebel. Jebel is probably the best bullet hell character in the game. He can put you in situations where you have to be a god at dodging, and even if you dodge a lot, there are still a lot of attacks coming, so you always gotta stay alert. But now, he also lacks combos, despite having different abilities to help him survive longer or help him. But Jebel overall isn't very good. Isn't really good to be considered a top tier unlike his old version. His damage, his DPS is pretty decent for me. And not to mention his durability is a bit low. But now, Alfie is new. Possibly the character with the highest durability in the entire team, and with the most health overall. Alfie is new is basically a spam character. It's a bit like Jebel, a bullet hell, but he can be stunned with every move, is the issue. Well, that is until she reaches her phase 2, but not much changes. But still, she can deal pretty good damage when used well. And up close, if you use electric moves, not the first one, you can deal a lot of damage. I've seen that myself a few times. And finally, Here we have Ink Sans, one of the characters with the best combos. Okay, so overall, Ink Sans is a very good character, but he struggles a lot in the damage per second and mostly on stamina characters. Meaning, the characters like Sans, for example, can beat him quickly without even standing a chance. Even though he's the most passive character in the game, he's just not used to rushing. And so that's what difficults him to be able to destroy characters with stamina. But now, he has got plenty of combos and you can use him in many ways. You just gotta know how to use him a bit well. And that's it. And to end the A tier, but for the top tier characters, we have Cross. Now, in my opinion, Cross is my favorite character of the entire game, despite having very punishable moves, such as the Blaster, which will never land most likely. You have to be a little bit tricky with him. And not to mention, his first phase also requires a decent amount of skill. Like now, for example, know when to use knife moves because you can be very easily punished, as well as to know how to combo and how to play your neutral to catch your opponent off guard. The first phase just requires a bit too much, and it's not even the big deal, since the big thing that you can do here is deal the maximum damage possible before reaching your phase 2. But when it comes to the phase 2, you most likely have to play around the same as the first phase, but with a little bit more tricks. You have the knives to stop the opponents from moving, and then you can start a combo there. And do not forget to use collapse because the amount of damage that deals, it's insane. So I only recommend to use it when you're about to finish your opponent off. Now, for example, when you're fighting Frisk, always use it because it will instantly kill. I've seen that myself and done it. So yes, that's pretty much for this phase. And finally, we reach to the best characters in the game, the S tier characters. In this section we have 6 characters, 3 on the underpart, which are the new Glitchtail Chara, Frisk, and Glitchtail Undyne. Now, before any of you crucify me for this, let me just explain myself why I decided to put these characters here. Okay, so first, that's for Frisk. Frisk, if they had a little bit of durability, would probably go on the upper part of the S tier, but they are one of the least durable characters, if not the worst, in the entire game, and that kind of hurts them. Even though they have a lot of stunning abilities and they can deal good damage, their durability is just so quickly taken out. Like, for example, yes, you've seen in the montage, I literally killed a single one Frisk with a combo of 3 moves. Yeah, very hurting moves can hurt them very bad, and more if they don't have the Batter's 2 Spike, which lets them heal entirely all of their health and undo all the job. Besides that, they are kind of a fast and yet versatile opponent despite not having the best mobility tools. And so they can also shield, which is not very bad but not very good. It's in between. Yeah, Frisk is pretty good in my opinion. Not really the best character because of the disadvantages they have, but they are still a very good character. Now, the new Glitchtail Chara. Okay, I gotta say, this Glitchtail Chara is a way more spammy version of the old Glitchtail Chara. It can be played in many ways and still annoy every player and such. But now, why did I put him under the old version? Well, there are a few reasons. First of all, they can also be more punished than the original Chara, despite having possibly the most moves in the entire game, having a total of 18. Not only that, but their ultimate moves in the phase 2 are also very slow and very quickly dodgeable. And not to mention the hate ball can be destroyed too. But now, some attacks can also be cancelled, leaving him in a bad position against their opponents if they are up close, mostly. But besides that, they have a better durability, and besides having possibly a very mid speed options, Glitch Chara, this Glitch Chara is actually very hard to deal with if you do not know the matchup. But yeah, and now let's go with Glitchtail and Dine. As for this character, Glitchtail and Dine used to be a top 1 or top 2 of the game when she released. She was that broken. A single combo could deal like 400 damage maybe? I've made a video on that with the Gaster tier list. You can watch Gaster matchups. But lately, after the nerfs, Glitchtail and Dine has become more of a normal character but still top tier. Even though her moves are a bit slower, the determination percentage can also increase her regeneration unlike before, becoming extremely good and having the Spear of Justice increasing damage once landed and as well as the range effects. But yeah, generally, Glitchtail and Dine is a very hard character to deal with too. In fact, I might say she might be a little bit harder than Glitchtail Chara. But now, let's go with the upper part. Now, Undertale and Dine. Before Glitchtail and Dine dropped, Undertale and Dine was more of a skill-based character and not just, well, what she has become today. Before that, she had a lot of bugs that could easily help extend a few combos. In fact, I've done a montage using that to my advantage. You can also watch it. But anyways, now this Undertale and Dine has become not bug-based, but rather combo-based and strategy. But now Undertale and Dine has become way more spammy ever since she came back to this game after being replaced by Glitchtail and Dine at that moment. But with these few changes, Undertale and Dine has become possibly one of the most annoying characters in the entire game. Having a whole lot of moves that can annoy you to death. And not to mention, her durability is one of the best in the game, and her damage and the combos, my god. She might be as well an equal of 50 cents. And now, let's go with the old Jebel. The old Jebel, before getting removed from the game or even being replaced by the new one, was an absolute destroyer. If you could beat an old Jebel, it could be either a miracle or you just played too well, because this character used to deal a lot of damage with a single move, barely even being able to do anything about it. So the bombs, compared to the Jebel, to the new Jebel we have, this old Jebel had, well, most likely the same durability, but the bombs dropped faster as well as the shades moved faster. Even though they had a little bit less damage, if you get hit by one of those, my god, the damage was unforgivable. Possibly 70 per bomb or something. But yeah, this Jebel was really broken. Like really. But now, the old Glitchtail Chara is the last character of here. The best icon of the entire game, as people love it too much. Okay, so as for this character, as I said earlier, it's like a less annoying version of the new Glitchtail Chara. Not to mention, the Glitchtail Chara doesn't have a bad durability either. It has good offense and defense. But as well, their mobility is reduced in the first phase. But that doesn't change much of it. They can bypass defense as well as the old Jebel can, and can deal combos of 100 plus damage in like 3 moves. And if it comes to 4, 150 plus guaranteed. Idea. Unlike the new Glitchtail Chara, this Glitchtail Chara's moves cannot be punished or cancelled in any way. Well, they cannot be cancelled. Some can still be punishable, even though they have also a shield that lasts 3 seconds. And well, they can also heal themselves with it. Now, one issue that I see is that their patience is lower and the movement is pretty much the same as the new Glitchtail Chara, which puts them kind of a bit behind compared to these other two. But besides that, this character is very good, not having bad DPS, but also being able to bypass defense easily. And not to mention the damage buffs that this character has received lately. Like a spin swing being able to deal like 46 damage or 47, and the glitch slashes dealing 60 and 40. Back to the old times, eh? But anyways, that's pretty much it for this video. This is the whole tier list explained. Now, if you have an opinion about this, you can also put it in the comments. I don't mind. As long as you don't judge too much, or you become rude about this, yeah, it will be fine. But anyways, see you in the next video.